And here's a look at my Beretta 92. This is the inox stainless steel gun. This one, when I got it, had been through a fire, and I'd gone through and restored it. You can see some of the traces of it. Has new springs, new parts. Had a trigger job done. It shoots well. It shoots very well for a 9mm. The reason I titled this video 9mm 1986 to 2017 changes is because 1986 was when the military adopted the 9mm as a service pistol officially with the Beretta M9. And we also had a shootout in Miami with the FBI, 1986 Miami FBI shootout with two bad guys named Platt and Maddox. Both were killed. 2 agents died. The consensus with the FBI then was the 115 grain silver tip did not perform adequately. Well, a lot of things went wrong that day. If we're going to blame a cartridge, we also have to remember that there was several 9mm that day that failed. There were also several 357 Magnums that were present and failed. And also some 38 Specials. But we have to have one factor of why things went wrong. And involved in a shootout under high stress, it's easy to make a mistake. From what I can gather in the reports, these were seasoned agents that went to take down these 2 bank robbers. Ended up shooting it out with them. But rather than saying, okay, we need to relook at our training, protocol, and our marksmanship, and our tactics, they decided to blame a cartridge. The first 9mm to hit one of these bad guys cut a wound under his right armpit into his chest cavity and was a non-survivable wound. He was going to die. The problem was he was not instantly incapacitated, and he could still fight for another few minutes. 3 minutes in a gunfight is a long time. At the time, the silver tip 115 grain 9mm bullet was a scapegoat. And what a lot of people don't realize is that in 1986, that 115 grain silver tip and the 115 grain Federal High Shock, not to be confused with Hydra Shock, were the 2 best bullets that you could get. And both of them were 115 grains. And the 115 grain bullet, like this full metal jacket, this full metal jacket here is great for punching paper, and there's some good things the 9mm has going for it. It's got light recoil, and it's inexpensive to shoot. You can get 50 rounds of this cheap aluminum case Federal for $10 or less. It doesn't take a lot to load for it as far as powder capacity. And a lot of them excluding Glocks, which say you're not supposed to, you can shoot cast bullets in them. So that's even more money savings if you reload. To help with what they felt like was a failure in the cartridge, shortly thereafter, 147 grain bullets became available. And the reason I use this Beretta with its 5-inch barrel is it helps and stabilizes those heavy bullets well. And they tend to work well. Now this one here is a 147 grain flat nosed bullet. It's cast. This one's loaded to about 1,100 feet a second. Shoots well. And has been a decent little game stopper. This here is just your plain Jane white box Winchester 147 grain hollow point. Now that's generally what stays in the gun as a working load. The thing that kind of annoys me is now everybody's saying, well, the 9mm, that's the way to go, that's the way to go. Well, they don't understand the history and why we got away from it in the first place. And what led to the eventual development of the .40 caliber. Because had the FBI adopted the .45, they'd have had to say, yeah, we should have gone with this in the first place because it was already there. It was a battle-proven cartridge. Instead, they went to the easy-shooting 9mm to replace the .357 Magnum because everybody was worried about capacity. Well, yeah, you got your capacity, but at the time you didn't have nearly as an effective bullet as you do now. And the interesting thing that I find now is we have wonderful bullets with 147 and 124 plus P loadings, which is a higher pressure 124 grain load. It's about like the 9mm NATO, except we can use hollow points. The limitations on the 1986 9mm rounds were pretty severe. 115 grain bullets was the norm. Now we can get heavier bullets that we can run at 1,100 feet a second. And we have something that's more effective to work with. Is a 9mm my cure-all, end-all, be-all cartridge? No. Will I carry this Beretta? Yeah. Am I reasonably confident that I can get done what I need to get done with it? In most cases. But from 1986 to 2017, that's a 30-year gap. I would hope we have improved bullets. Or going back to bullets that work. A lot of the key points with this little cast bullet can be found in the Elmer Keith bullet. Flat nose, the grease groove. This one's just got rounded ogives where it works good in a semi-automatic. So, in 30 years, the 9mm has made improvements. The reality is the physics don't change. A 115 grain bullet then is a 115 grain bullet now. I do not have any specimens of 115 grain bullets to put on here. Besides punching paper with a full metal jacket, I don't use them. I have in the past loaded some up kind of hot and used them for pest loads. Shooting coyotes, stuff like that. However, for more serious use, the heavier bullets seem to be the way to go in this gun because it shoots them well. My other two 9mm, a Ruger and a Smith, they like the 124 plus P loads, so that's what they get. But we've had a lot of tangible improvements since 1986. Mainly, we've increased our bullet weight. Is it a cure-all, end-all? Probably not. You're still going to work within the limitations of the cartridge, which is the limits of the gun, pressure-wise, and the limits of your casing with your bullet for your powder capacity. Anyway, this is a look at the Beretta. And, look at this stuff. If the 9mm suits your needs, shoot it. Learn to shoot it well. Become proficient with it. It's cheap to practice with. It's $5 less for a box of 9mm at this time than it is for 40 caliber. About $7 less than 45. Does it really make a big difference to a hand loader? Probably not. I can load them all about the same price. But those are the changes that have been made. Some of them positive, some of them negative. And also when we look at bullet weight, we have a circle that we make. And now we're coming back to where everybody's favoring the light bullets at slightly higher velocities over the heavier bullets at more moderate velocities. Well, I'm still going to go with my preference because of what I've seen, what I've done, what I've been able to accomplish with these loads. I'm going to go with the heavy bullet for caliber at fairly high velocities. Yeah, I give up 100 feet a second to a 115 going to this 147. But I'm picking up 32 grains of bullet weight. If we look at just the energy, the numbers, and you can't quantify a bullet's performance to numbers, I'm picking up 32 grains of bullet weight. That's more significant than me losing that 100 feet a second. I can lose 100 feet a second going from a 5-inch barrel gun to a 4. Much less if I go to a subcompact down to a 3. So, in the 9mm, I'm going to favor the heavy bullets if the gun will shoot them well. What I'm really going to favor is constant practice, improving my tactics, and improving my marksmanship. Later on,